Hi there everyone. We're going to talk about one of the most confusing verb forms there is in English, and that is the present perfect. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about first how to create the form, and then we'll talk about when we use it. So first, let's start with this. Here we always need to have a subject of the sentence. That's who or what is doing the action or the state in the verb in the sentence. And then we have or has, and then the past participle. Okay, let me give you an example and then I'll explain. So, I have studied Spanish. I have studied Spanish. Have plus studied, past participle. Okay. Have and has. Why is it have or has? That's because we need to use the correct form that agrees with the subject. When you say I, you need have. When you say you need have. When you say he, it's has. When it's she, it's has. When it's it, it's has, right? When it's they, it's usually have. When it's we, it's have, okay? So you choose have or has depending on the subject, okay? Then over here we use the past participle. The past participle I like to describe as the third form of the verb. So usually when you learn a new verb, you learn the simple form, the present form, right? You learn the simple past, and then you learn the past participle. For example, like see, saw, seen. Seen is the past participle, or eat, ate, eaten. Eaten is the past participle. So so studied is actually the past participle of study. Study, studied, studied. I have studied Spanish. Here, she has taken a test. I have plus past participle. Take, took, taken. So if you don't know the past participles of the verbs, that's okay. Just go do an internet search and write past participle forms of verbs in English. And you'll see a whole list of them, some that you probably already know and some that you might want to review. But if you don't know them and you want to make a sentence, just look up past participle and you can make it with have or has. All right, so these are affirmative statements. That means they're positive. How do I make them negative? Well, in English, usually to make some statement negative, we need help. We need a helping verb to do that. And in this case, the present perfect form already has a helping verb. The helping verb is have. Another word for a helping verb is auxiliary verb. Whatever you want to call it, it's already there. So to make a negative statement, we don't need to add another helping verb. We already have it. So now all we have to do is add the word not. Where do we add the word not? Right here. Between the helping verb and the main verb. So I can say, I have not studied Spanish, or she has not taken a test. And that's how you make it negative. How about questions? Well, let's check that out. Okay, so here's an example. Have you studied Spanish? So here, now I put the helping verb have first, and then I have the subject, and then the past participle of the verb, and the rest of the sentence. The other sentence we had was, she has taken a test. How do we make that a question? Has she taken a test? Has she taken a test? Yes or no? These are yes/no questions. The answer is yes or no. And this is how you make a yes/no question in the present perfect. To make a WH question, which is a question that requires an answer with information, we do something a little bit different, but almost the same. All you have to do is add a WH word before the helping verb. Some common WH words are who, what, when, where, why, how often, how far, right? So you add the WH word and then all the other parts for the yes, no question. So here I can say, where have you studied Spanish? And the answer is, oh, I have studied Spanish in Mexico or something like that. Why? Why has she taken a test? Why? Because she had to. I don't know, right? Okay. Why plus helping verb, subject. Where, helping verb, subject, past participle. This is how you make WH question with the present perfect. Okay, so now that we know what the present perfect looks like, affirmative, negative, and in question, let's talk about the mystery of the present perfect and the problem with the present perfect, which is when to use it. And when to use it is a little bit confusing because there's a lot of different reasons and times for when we need to use the present perfect. So let's talk about that. Okay, I'm going to number these because there's a few of them. The first time and reason why you might want to use the present perfect is because you want to show that some action, the verb, the action started in the past and continues until now. And you can do that with the present perfect. Let me show you. Okay, she has studied, there's the present perfect. She has studied Spanish since 2010. When I read this sentence, I know that there was a start time in the past, 2010. And I know that it's continuing because we're using the present perfect. Present perfect means present, now, and then perfect meaning before now. So if you look at this on a chart, past, present, future, it should look like this. 2010 is when she started to study Spanish. And she continued until now. She's studying and studying and studying and studying. She has studied Spanish since 2010 and it continues until now. So the word since is really important. So you got to remember that when you're using the present perfect and you want to show that something started in the past and continues until now, you need to use the word since. That word will help you show that time frame. Or you can use the word for. So let me show you how that works. Here, she has studied Spanish for 10 years. Same thing. It tells us that something started in the past, 10 years ago actually, and continues until now, okay? So when we see for and a time duration, a length of time, then with the present perfect, we understand that it's something that started in the past and continues until now. Now, be careful with since and for. You can use them both for the present perfect to show this meaning, but a lot of students make mistakes with when to use them. We use since with a specific time in the past, and we use for plus a duration of time that shows how long. So here, she has studied Spanish 4 plus duration, 10 years. It shows how long. Okay, so 4 plus duration of time. It could be 5 years, 5 minutes, 2 hours, 8 decades, whatever the duration is. If you say since, you need the specific time in the past because it started in the past and continues until now. Try not to use ago in this time. Don't say since 5 years ago. It sounds a little weird even though technically it's correct. Don't use ago. Use a specific time in the past, like since 2010, since last year, since yesterday, since my birthday last year. As long as it's a specific time in the past, it works, okay? So since 2010, right? That was our example, okay? So that's how you use the present perfect to show that something started in the past and continues until now. Now, you could also use the present perfect progressive to show the same exact thing. Let me show you. Okay, now here we're using the present perfect progressive. We didn't talk about this at the beginning of the video, but basically the present perfect progressive is have or has plus been, always been, plus verb ing, okay? And what this means is that something was in progress for a duration of time, but it was in progress the whole time until now. So almost the same thing as the present perfect, really, almost, okay? Not 100%, but they're pretty similar. So you can say she has been studying Spanish since 2010, started in the past, continues till now, or she has been studying Spanish for 10 years, started in the past, continues until now. Either way, she has studied since 2010. She has been studying since 2010. Really, they're very close. They're very similar. The only difference is with the progressive, you're focusing more on what was in progress rather than what happened this time and that time and that. To me, I see them as the same when I use them for the most part. The only difference is you cannot use the progressive, the ing form of a verb, if it's a non-action verb. So I cannot say she has been knowing Spanish since 2010 because know is a non-action verb. You cannot use it with ing. So in this case, I would use the present perfect and say she has known Spanish since 2010 or for 10 years. And that's how I would use the present perfect. For questions, I can say, how long has she known Spanish? How long has she studied Spanish? And when you hear the question of how long, automatically you want to remember that to answer that question, you're answering something started in the past and continues until now. So that should tell you, okay, I should use the present perfect in my answer to show how long. I have studied Spanish for 10 years. How long have you studied? I have studied 10 years. How long have you lived in the United States? I have lived in the United States for 5 years. Whatever it is, okay? So how long past until now is the first use of the present perfect. All right, so the next time we use the present perfect is to use it when we're talking about a time frame, a time in the past that's finished, but that's not clear and not specific. So in other words, we call that indefinite time, not specific. Indefinite, not clear, not specific, but it's finished. It's in the past, okay? So this is very different from the first use. The first use, something started in the past and continued till now. Indefinite time is focusing on something that happened in the past and for the most part is done. We just don't know when it happened. So let's take a look at these two sentences. She has been to Spain. Okay, that's done. That's finished. That's in the past. Do you know when it happened? No, I don't know. It doesn't actually matter when it happened. If it mattered when it happened, we would use the simple past and we would say she went to Spain, and then we would say when. She went to Spain in 2010. That's how we focus on a specific time in the past. But sometimes we don't care about when something happened. The important thing is that it happened. And to do that in English, we use the present perfect with indefinite time. So indefinite time means not specific. Please never, ever, 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 ever use a specific time in the past with the present perfect. Never. She has been to Spain in 2010. That's totally ungrammatical, but people understand you 100%, but we do not use a specific time in the past with the present perfect unless you use it with since, but we don't have the word since here. We're just using the present perfect, so you cannot use a specific time in the past with the present perfect, but you can use indefinite time. So what do I mean by that? Indefinite time is like time that's not specific. So like you can say once, twice, a few times, recently, lately. You know, it's like it happened, but we don't know when. So these times, these words that focus on time, but not specific time, and they really focus on how many. They focus on how many times usually. So she has been to Spain once. It's finished. It happened. When? Who knows? Doesn't matter. It happened once. Here's some other instances of time words that signal indefinite time. So she has been to Spain. We can say recently. She has been to Spain lately. When? We don't know. Lately, recently. You can only use lately at the end of a sentence with the present perfect. You can use recently at the end and in the middle between the helping verb and the main verb. She has recently been to Spain. But we can't say she has lately. No, lately goes at the end. We can say just. She has just been to Spain. Just means that it happened very close to now, like very, very recent. We could also say never, meaning it didn't happen at any time, specifically in the past. She has never been to Spain. These are the present perfect with indefinite time. And so people will ask questions to you using the present perfect all the time, signaling indefinite time. So they'll say, have you ever? Have you ever? And they say ever, meaning from the beginning of your life until now. Have you ever been to another country? And you can say, yes, I have been to another country one time, right? Or have you ever studied another language? Yes, I've studied another language many times, or five different languages. So when you hear ever in a question, that means you should answer using the present perfect, and use indefinite time to show how many times or how recent, but don't use a specific time, like yesterday, last year, 2010. Don't use specific time. That's doesn't work. If you're gonna use specific time, use the simple past. Okay, now let's move on to the third reason why we would use the present perfect. Okay, we use the present perfect with the words already and yet. Yeah, that's a time when we use the present perfect. Already and yet signal that we're asking or answering and talking about something that happened before now, because it's the present perfect. So we're talking about something that happened before now, or something that did not happen before now. But we usually use the present perfect with already and yet to ask and talk about this kind of time frame, okay? So we'll say already in a statement like, I have done my homework, but already, I have already done my homework really emphasizes that something happened in the past. It's done, it's finished before now. Past, now, future. So I have already done my homework. So when someone says, have you done your homework yet? That means they expected you to do it. They just don't know whether you did it in the past or if you still need to do it now. So the answer to that question, if it is affirmative, is I've already done my homework. Or you can say, I have done my homework already. You can put this in the middle, or you can put it at the end, okay? If you have not done your homework, you can just say, I haven't done it yet. Yet means I didn't do it before now, but I will. I will do it. I just haven't done it in the past. I didn't do it in the past, and I still haven't done it right now, but I will do it in the future. Okay, so yet is a powerful word. It means I haven't, but I will. So when someone uses yet for you in a question, you know how to answer. So, have you done your homework yet? Yet. What they're asking, again, is, did this thing that I know you're supposed to do happen before now? And then you answer, yeah, I've already done it, or no, I haven't done it yet, but I will. And that's when we use already and yet with the present perfects. Okay, so now that we've learned all those times, let's look at all these sentences that use the same exact verb, just in different forms. So I've studied English for 3 years, or since 2017. This is the present perfect with a specific time, since or for. And remember, this means that something started in the past and continues until now. It's not finished. That's the key, is it's not done yet. Here, I've been studying English for 3 years, or since 2017 is really almost the same thing. It shows that something started in the past and continues until now. It's not done. We're not done. I've studied English lately. I've studied English lately. This is using indefinite time. It's finished. I've studied. It's done. But when? Lately. Not specific. This is finished time, but we don't use a finished time. I've already studied English today. That means that something that I needed to do did happen before now. I studied English in college. This is the simple past. This is finished action, finished time. So what I want to say about the present perfect is that For the most part, when we use the present perfect, yeah, we're talking about the past, but we're talking about it in relationship to now, the present, and how it's important now and how it affects now. And because it's present, we usually use it with unfinished time. We're not done. It could be in this decade, this year, this month. This period of time is not done. Whereas with the simple past, it's done last year, last month, last semester, finished. So that's really the difference, is try to use the present perfect for all those reasons that I just talked about. Most important, if you want to learn how to do this, speak to people, read. All right, bye-bye.